And Lynn, welcome to the Harwich Accessibility Rights Committee. Today's May 9th, and I'm calling the meeting to order.
Good.
So the first thing we need to do is to approve those minutes.
And I understand you're calling for additions and corrections. And I would like to correct the date on the minutes. I have come unstuck in time, I guess. I said that we had approved the minutes of the January 10th meeting, and it should have been the March 11th.
Okay.
Okay.
I can
Anything else?
second.
Lynn?
That was
So,
Oh, I thought she was
who-
done.
That was it, just that one
Okay.
date.
okay, so who's bringing the motion forward? All right,
Second to that?
Okay, Lynn and Eileen. Thank you. Okay, let's get on with our new business. The first thing I have on the agenda is the scent-free policy. I don't know about anyone else on the committee, but I had no idea there was a scent-free policy in this town. Did you, Eileen?
Yeah, Carla had,
Well, that's how I knew about it,
Oh.
because we got that email from Carla, and she began the email by saying that the scent-free meeting policy and procedure was adopted by the Harwich Disability Rights Committee during my second tenure on that committee. So the way I've understood the timing on that, that was about 2012. So I've read over the policy, and I hope everyone else has, and the committee has to decide, should we appoint people on the committee to review it, or should we accept it the way it's been written and put it on our website? So, let's have
I had a
a conversation about it.
copy of that somewhere, but I don't see it now.
Now, as I understand it, this policy is.
Lynn, do you mind
only-
speaking up a little,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry.
Mhm.
As I understand it, this policy appears to only be directed at this committee.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are. So if we approve the policy, we would approve the whole thing with all this background information?
Exactly the way it was, I would assume. Again, unless the committee believes they'd like to review it and bring it back to our June meeting.
If you ask me, I like concur. I think this should be as it is. It should be
Okay.
updated for our website, but
Leave it as it is, or
Mhm.
update it,
leave it
leave it
as it is, and then have it on our website. I mean,
and have it on our website,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I have, I have a copy here. This is what Carla had
Right,
sent out before. Is this the same one you're thinking of?
exactly. It
Okay.
starts, it kind of looks, Harwich Disability Rights Committee scent-free policy. Of
Yep.
course, we'd have to change that to the Harwich Accessibilities Rights Committee. But I've read it over. It doesn't seem to me that it's missing anything. It was very enlightening, I
Yeah,
thought.
Yeah,
I learned a lot. I've read it a few times. So do we have someone that would like to bring a motion forward to accept it? And then we could
okay.
have it incorporated into our website.
I can,
And-
offer
and
the-
Did Alexa already make that motion?
No. So do we have a motion? Well, she said it, but it wasn't in the form of a motion. So Alexa, would you like to make a motion?
yes, I would like to make a motion.
I think I need to word it, though. Would you, would you like to make a motion to accept the scent-free policy the way it's written and incorporate it into our website?
Yes.
Okay.
I can,
Do I
I'll
have a
second
second?
that. Sure.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it's valuable or noticeable, but it is.
I think you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
I was intent on getting that done. Okay, the second thing is just not, well, if you'd like to discuss it, fine, but it came to my attention that there's an auto mark voting machine, and I was in touch with the town clerk, and they're all set up and ready to go for Election Day on May 16th to have a booth that is appropriate for someone with a disability.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to make sure that we followed through on that.
Mhm.
The cart reader, for any of us who went to town meeting, there it was. And I know Carla was very concerned about the font. Font was fine, I was sitting in the back. So I wanted to make sure that was on our agenda and that everybody knew what happened there. Okay, we received, the next thing is called Resource Network. I have that on the agenda under new business. We received a forward from Carla Burke from a woman by the name of Kim Charlson from Watertown. And let me just read this one paragraph. She said, "I know there are many of us, and I am very proud of that awareness, but I would like to set up a resource network, an email list for those who serve on commissions to connect, ask questions of each other, and share our town, city's accomplishments." So I felt it should be an agenda item to see if this committee wants to get involved in something like that. She says here, "From time to time, I receive inquiries about connecting people who are blind who serve on their local commission on disability with other blind people around Massachusetts." So then she goes on to say she's thinking of setting up a resource network. So I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
Yeah, I definitely want to participate in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are
for
you?
sure.
Where are you with that, Lynn?
I'm sorry?
Where are you with that, with us participating in this? How do you feel about that?
I think it's always good to learn from other people.
Okay.
We would, I assume, want to designate someone from the committee to be the
Mhm.
contact.
Exactly.
And from that email, that is normally for a group who are visually impaired. That's where the.
Yeah,
email
That's where it's
came
coming from, right?
You know, well, I'll be the perfect candidate from a young person in terms of my eyesight and everything, and being a registered client or consumer with MCB, Mass Commission for the Blind.
Would you be willing to be the contact person?
I
Like,
can certainly follow up and work with that, yeah.
well, I really appreciate that. Eileen, do you have any
Well,
comments?
the only question I'm going through my mind is that, is there any prohibition about sharing information about the town or the way things are done here or funded or any of that kind of stuff without, going through whoever it is, the transitional person for us with the town leadership?
I think that's an excellent comment.
Yeah.
Then before we put it to a vote, that we get involved with Kim Charlson, I think we should table this till next month and have someone just investigate.
Sure,
Would you mind? I don't know.
not a problem.
We don't even know who our new liaison
Yeah.
would be, and we don't have Megan here today, and we don't have Larry, so it's not as if we can ask and
Sure.
put it to a vote.
I think it's wise to, checking in with the leadership here. I don't anticipate anything huge that would be problematic, but maybe there's some reason, or how we connect with them.
I don't think I need to make a motion on this. Why don't we just say we're tabling a vote on this till next month?
Yeah, I would think so.
Is everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. Alexa, you're wonderful. Thank you. Okay, ladies. The next thing is the enormous job that Lynn and Eileen had to review the town policies. And the first one I would like to look at is the the ADA Act, the ADA grievance policy and procedure that was developed back in, I believe, 2010. So I don't know which one of you would like, we all should have it.
I think that,
I don't know how you went about it, but,
This is essentially Eileen's document. We discussed a lot of it, but this is the first I've seen a draft of it.
And it's not finished at this
I
point.
don't
so
know what
let
you
me-
mean. I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
a draft of what I just mentioned, or something brand new?
This is the first time I've seen this, so I don't feel as if I can speak to it,
Okay.
other than tell you that, yes, we put in very long hours and we found that we were coming from very different directions.
Okay.
What I thought I was supposed to be doing, but they had the old process and going through, and what I was trying to do was to look at material from other places as well as stuff on the internet about the grievance process that exists under ADA or et cetera. And it was, because I thought what the question for us to answer was, the old policy that existed, from the previous years.
This one.
The-
This is the old policy. It says on the top, Town of Harwich, Massachusetts, Title II, Americans with Disability
Yeah.
Act, grievance policy and procedures.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Good, okay.
And is that the one, I don't have it in front of me, that is the one that was used before, and the language in it is just not what I'm used to seeing. If you're gonna create a policy, you write it differently than that one was. That
Okay.
was all like a Q&A kind of a thing.
Yeah,
And-
right here where it says contents, who may file, and then it must answer, and then obviously I've
Well, I
read
don't
it.
know if that's the one that I
That is the one.
This is the only
that is-
thing that
that the committee had.
Yeah, that didn't strike me as a significant,
No, we're on this one. You've got the right pile.
because some of the language in there was not particularly strong, I think, meaning it wasn't well-crafted, I think.
Okay.
And so what I started to do was to write up something that was a bit stronger. And there was, in the one that I'm referring to, had questions like, what do I do if this, or if I don't like the outcome, what can I do? And it was like conversational versus, I'm used to seeing policies that are much more clearly articulated than that document was.
So would you and Eileen agree that we'll go through what I have in front of me and then see what you have and go from there? I mean, have you both put this together that you just gave me?
No, we discussed some elements of it,
Okay.
but I have not seen it together before.
Okay, so why don't we, I don't know any other way to do this than to just, let's read it paragraph by paragraph and
Mhm.
hear both of you, your opinion. Are you okay with that, Alexa?
Yes.
And you have a copy of it? Yes, that's it right here. Okay. Grievance policy. The town of Harwich is committed to ensuring that people, did you keep this? No, you didn't. That people with disabilities are able to take part in and benefit from the variety of public programs, services, and activities offered by the town. The town continues to modify its facilities, programs, policies, or practices as necessary to ensure such access is provided. So, here's the first paragraph. On this side, the town of Harwich is committed to ensuring that people with disabilities are able to take part in and benefit
It appears to be the same.
variety of public programs. So is,
Lynn, are you talking about the first paragraph here?
Yeah, it appears to be the same in.
see, she
your
gave me
document
this.
and
Did she
in-
give you that
The
too?
old
Yes,
one,
you have the
sure, yeah.
working document.
Well, we
Okay.
started with that.
So
and
can
then
we
just
start,
try
can
and-
we all, do we all agree then that paragraph 1 is acceptable by everyone?
Yeah, it's a good intro.
Don't you? Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's fine. So this is a check. Okay. Then they went to ADA grievance procedures, and then you went to, in accordance with requirements of Title II of the American with Disabilities Act, is, how much of this is the same, 99? ADA and ADA Amendments Act of 2010.
I have a correction that I think needs to be made there. The ADA Amendments Act is 2008, and then there's a supplement to ADA in 2010.
Okay, so are one of you put, how are we going to do
I
this?
thought we did change that.
We talked about it, but apparently, it didn't get written down.
Okay, Title II, Americans Disability Act 1990, ADA and ADA.
So how should that read then, ladies? How do you want that? The ADA Amendments Act of 2010, but you're saying it's 2008. So are there two? Was there one in 2008 and one in 2010?
There are two. One is called the ADA Amendment Act of 2008, and the other is,
I
I've
would
got
just-
some notes here.
I would try to,
The other one is called the ADA Standards of 2010.
So have you-
As I read it when I've been researching this,
So do you want to include that right here? I mean,
yes, I would like to.
So you wanted to read the ADA amendments of 2008, and the, what did you say, something of the 2010?
The ADA Standards of 2010. I think we
so
should
this should be
also-
2008, so it should be the ADA Amendments Act of 2010, but before that,
No,
wait,
it
that's
should read-
2008.
It should read the ADA Amendments Act of 2008.
Yeah,
Okay.
And the ADA Standards of 2010.
okay.
And I question whether we should be including also Title I.
Title I is from where?
Title I is the ADA.
Well, if it's is that redundant?
Title I deals with employment, Title II with state and local government, Title III is private sector.
Well, maybe we should just list that then, what you just said.
Well, because this is a town document, you don't want, I would not include Title III because that deals with public accommodations. And the
So,
town doesn't govern public accommodations. Though I suppose we could take them to court.
so in accordance with requirements of Title II, Americans Disability Act of 1990, ADA, and the ADA amendments of 2008, and
The ADA standards of 2010.
standards, okay, okay.
All right, the town, go ahead.
Essentially, the 2008 and the 2010 are attempts to refine the definition of disability and actually expand it to cover more situations.
Okay.
If I'm wrong on anything and you know this, you tell me, please.
yeah, I definitely think those two things should be in two separate sentences.
Okay,
But in terms of like, I think the second paragraph, it should be general, like in accordance with, the ADA requirements of Title II, it prohibits for the town of Harwich to discriminate against the qualified individuals with disabilities on the basis of disability. I would just leave it as that. I wouldn't try to coincide the two-year dates in one. It will confuse people.
So you wanna drop the amendments of 2010? So you just want the 2008?
But if
Yeah,
the
well,
I'm
2008
confused.
I didn't realize even you could have, there was amendments in 2008 or 2010. Oh,
Yeah,
And the 2010 was published in the Federal Register,
yeah, so
so
if that's the case, then I think we do need to say it, in two separate sentences, so not in one. So we probably
Okay.
do need to include those two dates, so the public is, knows specifically.
okay.
But we're going to keep both of them in, the ADA Amendments Act of 2008 and the ADA Standards of 2010?
Mhm.
You don't want that?
I
We
don't think
can't-
I don't think it's a good idea to put in like two sentences or.
All right, so how are we going to word that then? In addition?
But
Yeah,
Lynn, wasn't you saying that there were some additional, or the amendments of 2010 is a little bit different than the goes beyond the 2008 standards?
for the 2008, it is formally called the ADA Amendments Act
Mm-hmm.
of
Okay.
2008. And the later one is called ADA Standards.
okay, so why don't we just do what
2010.
Alexis said? Put a period after, and the ADA Amendments Act of 2008, period.
Okay, what I wrote here is two separate sentences.
And then we'll get
We'll
the
fix
separate
that.
sentences, that's,
Yeah.
Eileen,
Okay.
Yeah,
okay?
no, I have no problem with that, I just want to make sure.
And then how are we gonna write that? In
Information is
addition,
there.
the ADA Standards of 2010, how are we gonna describe it to make it a sentence?
Hmm.
In addition, the ADA Standards of 2010 also comprise this policy or this,
This is,
You could say one other component or.
there you go. Oh, the main, yeah, one other component is the
Mhm.
ADA Standards of 2010.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
And English is my second language.
I'm
No.
so glad you're here.
Excuse me. Let's use the restroom.
One other component is the ADA Standards of 2010. Okay, next sentence.
now
Town
this
of-
was, when I was writing what I thought I was writing to was, some guidance to the town in terms of creating policies
Mhm.
for the town as
Uh-huh.
opposed to how we run ADA or we're dealing with, well, I almost said patients, I was getting to that. So this was this is the preface of how, was gonna be like the basis, that this was not going to be a document that was going to be, only owned by us, that it was something that was going to go to the leadership of the town,
Okay,
and that will go to their lawyers, because it will become the policy for the town about how this runs.
Okay,
And that's
I
what
get
I
it.
was thinking when I wrote this, so.
I get it. So the next sentence seems to be, get rid of the, and then, well, no, we need the capital T-H-E. The town of Harwich does not discriminate against qualified individuals with disabilities on the basis of disability in its services, programs, activities, or employment opportunity. Disabilities, on the basis of disability, okay. Can we go to the next paragraph 3? What is, It is against the law for the town of Harwich to retaliate against anyone who opposes discrimination, files a grievance, or participates in the investigation of a grievance. I like that,
Yeah, that makes sense.
doesn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, can we move on?
Mhm.
Are we all in agreement?
Yeah,
Cool. 1, 2,
I
3.
think actually that is in the original one, but in a different place.
Oh, well,
And
I like
shows
it there
the
because
difference.
you're setting a tone. Is that what,
Mhm.
Yep.
okay. Now, this is where it's different. The town is required to adopt and publish procedures for resolving grievances arising under Title II of the ADA. Grievance procedures set out a system for resolving complaints of disability discrimination in a prompt and fair manner. Title II of the American and Disabilities Act requires that public entities adopt and publish grievance procedures to assure the prompt and equitable resolution of grievance. The purpose of the ADA grievance procedure is to resolve maybe as promptly as possible, grievances or conflicts related to the town's ADA compliance without the need for the grievance to resort to other remedies available under the law.
Which,
Discussion? Seems fine to me.
yeah,
That,
just,
I mean, that second part, where the sentence that starts with Title II is identical to the old policy.
Okay.
this one
That's
here,
fine.
Title II of the requires that public entities adopt, publish grievance. What's,
Yes, I just said it's identical to the
to,
old one.
oh, to the old one, okay.
Yeah,
You're not dropping it, you're just, it's
Yeah.
the same, yeah, I
I
get
see
it
that
now.
it's the same. Now, it's hard going back and forth, but that's what we
Yeah.
have to do. The town of can we move on? Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Does anyone else want to read? Okay. The town of Harwich, Massachusetts is required to adopt and publish procedures for resolving grievances arising under Title II of the ADA. Grievance procedures set out a system for resolving complaints of disability discrimination in a prompt and fair manner. The Department of Justice has developed a model grievance procedure that is included here. Oh, wow, okay. So now we're going in a different direction than this. Yes?
Different direction, what do you mean? I don't know.
Well, then the next paragraph for the one from 2012 or 10, then said contents and it had all questions.
Yeah, see now,
That's what I mean. So
Okay.
now it's a little, okay, this is good.
this was written with the idea that it would go to the town and then the lawyers would go after it and decide what they were, yeah.
The grievance procedure, the grievance procedure should include a description of how and where a complaint under Title II may be filed with the government entity.
Where are you reading?
I'm reading what you, right here, I'm way at the
Okay.
bottom.
The
Yeah.
Department of Justice had developed a model grievance procedure that is included here.
Can
The
I,
gre- Procedure should include, and then that last one, description, yes, go ahead.
before the Department of Justice,
Mm-hmm,
the sentence that says the town of Harwich is required to adopt and publish procedures resolving, et cetera, that's exactly the same as the beginning of the paragraph above it.
Right,
So
Oh, yeah.
one of them needs to go, I think.
so
Yeah.
let's eliminate that one?
Yep.
Okay.
so that paragraph would start with grievance procedure set out a system for resolving complaints. The Department of Justice has developed a model, okay, that's fine. Me, I don't have a problem with that.
And
That's a good catch, Lynn.
Okay, so are we all together now when it says the Department of Justice has developed a model grievance procedure that is included here? The grievance procedure should include a description of how and where a complaint under Title II may be filed with the government entity. Yes?
Okay with me.
If a written complaint is required, a statement notifying potential complainants that alternative means of filing will be available to people with disabilities who require such an alternative.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Number 3, a description of the timeframes and processes to be followed by the complainant and the government entity. Number 4, the next bullet, information on how to appeal an adverse decision. And a statement of how long complaint files will be retained.
That's a requirement.
Okay, now there should be a space there, I would say, for the next one. Once a state or local government establishes a grievance procedure under the ADA, it should be distributed to all agency heads. Post copies in public spaces of public maybe buildings,
Yeah, probably that.
and on the government's website. Updated procedure and the contact information is necessary. In addition, if a written complaint is required, a statement notifying potential complainants that alternative means of filing will be available to people with disabilities who require such an alternative. I like that. Okay. So far, so good, as far as So it seems to me you've really read this over and almost simplified it a little bit.
Sort of,
Sort
where
of.
I could, but it's not all me.
So, let's continue on. It is the policy of the town of Harwich not to discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity, age, or disability.
I a
Have we
question.
forgotten anything in there? I feel like we
Do you think we could add like economical,
Yeah, socioeconomic level?
yeah, status?
I like
Yeah.
that.
Can I ask, is this relevant to a disability policy?
Socioeconomic level?
All of the above, color, national origin, sex.
Yeah, it's
Has
considered,
nothing to do with disability.
it's,
Yeah, but it's all part of how.
And yes, it is the law that those items cannot be discriminated against. But does that part of the law belong in a disability document?
yes,
think so.
I do.
I
do-
think so, but
yeah, I do know what you're trying to ask.
I get what you mean.
Um,
What do you think, Alexa and Eileen?
yeah, I think it has to be in there for people to see it and recognize it, acknowledge it, yeah.
I'm
I-
sorry, I have trouble
I think we
hearing.
no, I definitely think we do need to include it or keep it. It's all considered like protected class.
Okay,
Where, let me just look the
I
page.
I think we're going far afield for a disability grievance policy. Because those,
Yeah, right
What, what, why is it going afar from a,
if you want to grieve that you've been discriminated against because of your sex, does it go to the ADA coordinator? Where does the grievance go?
I know what you mean.
I think that there are probably other routes for
Perhaps, but
other types of discrimination.
Mhm.
And does this committee, is it relevant that we are discriminating based on sex? Is that relevant to a committee on accessibility rights?
I would think,
I know that Eileen thinks so, because we've
Oh,
had
okay.
this discussion before.
So this is that's why we brought it to the committee.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that discrimination is discrimination, and I think in my mind, what is that expression where we're almost delving in, I think we need to protect ourselves, whether it's a disability, and then we're also including sexual orientation, race. I think it's gotta, I think we've
Because
just gotta say it, that be
I
part of
I
it.
think that
My-
the town can say it, but does it belong in a disability document? I mean,
Well,
and if you don't like my sexual orientation, then I go in drag, I don't know, and you don't want me in the room, and then you bar me from the room, does that grievance go to the ADA coordinator?
Well, that piece probably not, it'd probably go to like HR.
well, I don't think, oh, go ahead, sorry.
It would probably go where?
To HR, like human
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah,
That's, but,
and it's probably part of your personnel policy, and, I'm sure there are policies.
I think it
It's
really,
law, that is law, okay? Does it belong in a disability document? I mean, I used to work in a government agency that made that particular statement on everything that it printed. You know, if it was a program flyer or anything, it always had that, the town does not discriminate.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a general statement that sets the law right out there.
well, could we
But we're dealing with disability.
break it into two sections now? Because I definitely see that. We could break it down into, 2 sentences or,
Do we have a civil rights committee or commission here?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It seems to me that might be more relevant to them.
well, what I'm thinking when I read this part over and over again, maybe it is just, in my mind, is just misplaced. That maybe it belongs in, somewhere up here as opposed to, or I'm just thinking about what you were saying, that in this first one, it's talking about, discrimination on the basis of those things. And the town has adopted an internal grievance procedure providing for complaints, alleges, blah, blah, blah. So maybe or I'm thinking that maybe this needs to be further earlier. Because the two can, I think the two can go together, but if it is more adds more clarity,
yeah, this,
move it to another part where
Yeah.
it says, the grievance procedure should include, and then it should include the policy of the town not to, discriminate on the basis of race and color and those kinds of things.
Well, I will say that I hold the minority opinion here. I can see that, and I don't want to hold the committee up. As a minority, I disagree. But I think you probably all want to move forward.
Well, you make a very good point. I think we have a whole paragraph here that's also dealing with the Affordable Care Act, Department of
Yeah.
Health and Human Services prohibits discrimination on the basis. I think we should have a little bit more discussion, get everybody's opinion, and put this paragraph to a vote whether we want to include it or not.
The entire paragraph or the first couple of sentences?
Well, it then goes on, I mean, it in my opinion, then it goes on and it's mentioning the Affordable Care Act, and, which also is backing on prohibits discrimination on race, color, national origin. It seems to me that you'd want it all together. It should maybe be examined in the office of Okay. Has been designated to coordinate the efforts of named covered entity to comply
you-
with section 150.
I think I wrote it together simply because I think there are people that have, conditions, medical conditions or medical, illnesses that are also sometimes discriminated against on the basis of their race and color and gender identity and those kinds of things.
So are we doing a civil rights document or are we doing a disability document? I think that.
I think we don't know that, Lynn, so we need to decide if we want to how are we going to go forward when we seem to be stuck right now?
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking questions I don't know.
Well,
Do we have a civil rights committee? I really don't know. But even if we
Have we
did, I
said
think
that?
even if we did, I'm speaking for myself, not the committee, I still would want that in our document. I think it covers all that of which,
right, and maybe that
Are
first
important
part
to me.
is misplaced, and I'd put it on the, in the beginning to say, you want to be upfront and say, we don't discriminate against color or race.
so why don't we
or-
just put it here? It is the policy of the town of Harwich, put it right underneath the paragraph that ends, that's before the Department of Justice.
Where's the one of justice?
On page 1,
Yeah,
First page on the bottom.
first page on the bottom, right before, you have before we go into what grievance procedures are,
Mhm.
just add that as a paragraph.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Well, that says it's the grievance policy right here.
Yes, so before it,
Oh.
before it,
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
grievance policy.
Okay. Right in here?
then what do we do with that, on that first page that you just turned us to? What do we do with the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph
One,
that
two,
starts
three,
with?
four.
The town is required to adopt and publish procedures for resolving grievances arising under Title II of the ADA.
Mhm.
Sex discrimination is not under Title II of the ADA. Do we need to change the laws that we're talking about?
Well, that one's saying it's resolving grievances, but I think we need to somewhere this is more generic. It's basically saying what just about every document says, is that they don't discriminate on the basis of race, origin, gender, all of that kind of stuff. We'll move it perhaps to, right under this third bullet on the first page. It's against the law to retaliate against anybody who opposes discrimination, blah, blah, blah. And if you put it in here, and it takes out the illness or disability issue out of it. And it just says, because somewhere in just about every document I've ever seen that has to do with, how you deal with people in employment or that your customers or something like that, is you can't, you don't discriminate. And it's like a published thing. We don't discriminate against race or origin or gender or.
I mean, I understand that. I understand that people have rights and those rights should not be abused. That there is law that says, yes, we don't discriminate on all these things. But, and that's why I said I'm obviously a minority here, and
Well,
that's okay.
you aren't, you're not until we
That's
vote.
what working in a group happens.
Mhm.
But I think that this is a grievance policy and procedure document for ADA, under ADA. and I don't think those things belong under FDA, although I agree most heartily that they are important. I don't wanna hold the group up.
No, what I think, I'm gonna make a motion. I'd like to make a motion, and I'm gonna ask Lynn, you to do this, to see if there's a civil rights committee in town that would be handling this. Even though, I can't speak, we need to word the motion. So we can move on, but then we have the information. Or, let me take the motion off the floor a minute. Let's keep the discussion going here. Let's just chat a second. Do we want to pursue finding out if there's a civil rights committee that would be handling this or not? Or do we want to put it to a vote the way it is and leave it in the document? I think we need some discussion.
Well, I think you know my answer. I think we need to find out.
I just really, just as a person on the committee, I don't want to be in a rush for any of this, that we've got to get it all done, because there's a lot here.
Yeah. I think,
And we still have to get through a couple of more things on our agenda.
to be honest, I mean, grievance procedures, you always have to be cautious about people feeling as though they didn't get a fair shake because they're, you know, like a race or a gender or a transgender or something like that. I think it's important that is somewhere else maybe then. It doesn't go as easily with.
But you're saying keep it in the document.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah,
Or maybe just take it here where it says, policy not to discriminate, blah, 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 age or disability. And so take that, stop it there, and then start the next paragraph. The town of
Oh, I
Harwich
see
has
what you mean. Okay.
adopted an internal grievance procedure for prompt equitable resolution of complaints
Okay.
alleging from.
Your name's Lynn, right?
I'm sorry?
You, Lynn?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen Lynn's reasoning, and it's completely understandable. But yes, that
I think
the race and the color national, that's all. It's civil rights. Those are civil rights violation. It's under a different title, so I do see the distinction that would probably confuse the grievance and policies, because those are two separate things. Yeah. So I think we do need to bring this piece up to the group and ask for their input, because there is a slight not confusion, but an adjustment with that, because it is different.
So let me then clarify this. Eileen is talking about the first sentence on page 2. And that sentence says, it is the policy of the town of Harwich not to discriminate on the basis of race, color, and national origin, sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity, age, or disability. Our difficulty here is, do we take that sentence and put it earlier in the document? Or do we pursue with the ADA officer or someone in town hall who could tell us if there's a civil rights officer or a committee?
Well, when I look at this, you know, that obviously in just about every thing that I've seen always has that statement. So what I would suggest is that in the beginning, when it's, you know, the first bullet on the first page says is committed to ensuring blah, 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 on and on programs. And then right after that, I would take that, it's the policy of the town not to discriminate.
I'm sorry,
We're
Eileen.
not connecting.
Where are you?
Oh, sorry.
Are you on your document, or are you on, what?
I'm on my document, which
Okay.
is that,
Which
page 2,
Okay.
which is, that's,
Yeah.
that
And she wants to
sentence
stick
there
that
that
to
kind
this.
of says,
Okay, thank you.
and then just take that out of there and put it up here.
In the first paragraph.
Yeah, because you always have to make that statement. In any policy I've ever seen, always has that statement. And then it makes it easier. Then you can start that on the second page. Town of Harwich has adopted an internal grievance process. Because if we're talking about grievance, but there are lots of times in grievances, let me tell you, I've been at that table many times,
Mhm.
that, and you know, as part of a team that looks at stuff, people walk through the door saying, you didn't like me, and you don't like the fact that I'm, you know, an immigrant. You didn't give me justice, you know, you always hear that.
Right, then you go to the ADA coordinator if you have.
No, because
feel
I'm
you're
not,
discriminated against by.
I'm not saying that, because it says the town of Harwich is committed to ensuring that people with disabilities are not going to be discriminated against just on the basis of their, that's what I think, but I will go with what the
Okay, we've got to
consensus
put
is.
the, then, I feel like we're going in circles now. Let's put it to a vote. Would someone like to make a motion, other than me?
Well, I think I was saying that the motion would be that on page 2, that the sort of middle paragraph says that is the policy of the town not to discriminate against base, blah, 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 and put that up on page 1, right after the first paragraph. That ends with, the town continues to modify its facilities, programs, policies necessary to ensure such access is provided.
So your motion is on the floor. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I concur unless we're gonna discuss this with the group further, but other than that, that's what I
Well,
would do.
we've got the motion on the floor right now, so.
Yes. Yes.
I can't second it, I just don't.
Oh, no, I'm just, so is that a second?
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor of moving that sentence on page 2, the
Aye.
beginning of the paragraph, it is the policy of the town of Harwich, and put it on page 1 as the last sentence of paragraph 1.
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye? Opposed?
Nay,
Okay. we had-
And I'll tell you, as soon as this goes to the lawyers, they're gonna rewrite it anyway.
So are you documenting all this?
Oh, I did on that one, yeah.
I mean, just
trying
where
to
the sentence goes?
Keep up with the minutes here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, folks, it's 2:00 and I still have more on the agenda. So, how about we stop where we are on the review of the ADA grievance policy and procedures and continue at our next meeting? And I'll hold on to this document that you gave me, Eileen, with the changes, the one that you just handed.
Oh, okay.
The one that we're working from.
and obviously there's nothing to stop me from finding out if we have a civil rights.
Absolutely not. That would be a wonderful thing. We can always make another motion and change.
Yeah, I just think it's important to have that information. Of course, I won't be here at the next meeting, but I'll
Send in your draft.
So we're going to table this. And I'm going to move on to the list of agencies on HARC website. I really, really, really want to give kudos to Alexa. She put a fabulous list of agencies together, and I heard from Caleb from Channel 18, and we now understand that anything on our website goes through Channel 18, Caleb and, I can't remember the other, and Janice, I think. So I just wanted to read off to you everything that she's put together, which is now on our website. I just heard from Caleb.
Oh, that's
So the
cool.
first is the Massachusetts Office on Disabilities. Second is Job Accommodation Network. The third is the Americans with Disabilities Act. The fourth is the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination. The fifth is the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. The sixth is the Disability Resource Center. Number 7 is the Disability Law Center. Number 8 is Cape Organization for the Rights of the Disabled. Yay, because that's who Alexa works with. And the 9 is the Disabled Persons Protection Commission. Number 10 is Elder Services of Cape Cod and the Islands. And that's all that she has given me. And once again, if you want to see it, it's on our website.
Oh, that's
You
so
did a great
cool.
job. I was really impressed with this.
So thank you, Alexa.
Oh, I didn't realize it was going up on our website. Whoa.
And I heard from him actually this morning with a big thank you.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's a wonderful thing.
Oh, gee. Oh.
Um,
Oh, my name's on. Oh, sweet. Oh, dang.
Good, yay!
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, moving right along. Sean Libby, you know how we have been waiting and waiting just to find out exactly what this was all about? Remember the size of the signs? And
Oh, yes.
I'll read to you
yes.
exactly what it was. The recommended use of existing funds was locate a company to manufacture or provide pre-made signs for tactile exits and room identification. Compile all required signage requirements for the town's procurement process. Well, I misunderstood that. Don, who's been working on it, misunderstood it, and I had a conversation with Sean Libby. Here is what he needs. We need to go through this document that he gave us months and months ago. Do you remember this?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Remember this?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I got that here.
We need to go to each building supervisor
Here?
Mhm.
Oh,
and talk to each department head as to what signs they need, and then do they want them in Braille, which obviously they should be. We need to find out the deficiencies by the group that originally put this together, the deficiencies they found in whatever particular buildings, and then go to that department head. So I guess an example would be to go to Eric Beebe and find out about the bathrooms at Brooks Park. I'm just using that as an example. So I'd be willing to go through the original document to see if I can understand what buildings were deficient. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about?
mhm.
We can't do anything until we ascertain what buildings were deficient. Then perhaps we can, as he said, it's a very time-consuming
Yeah,
project. Then we can conquer and divide, and we have 6 on the committee, maybe each of us take 2 buildings, get hold of the department head, and see where we go from there. But we need those deficiencies spelled out before we can do anything. So I will take that on.
all by yourself?
Well, I'm just gonna try and see if I can even see this.
Oh,
Do they have department head meetings?
I have no idea, Lynn, I would assume so.
Because that
Well-
might be a shortcut to getting to all of the department heads
Mhm.
at one time. And tell them, where we are and what we're trying to do.
Well, why don't we do this? Would someone volunteer to find out if we have if they have department head meetings? And make a list of who the department, we don't even know.
You're talking about like this, right? For the town of Harwich? Or the departments for here, right? Or for,
The way he said it to me, it's the buildings that were deficient, not,
oh, not,
and
oh,
then
not-
in the building, there's a building supervisor or a
Oh.
department head, he
Sure.
called it.
but I know, when I walked, probably sometime last fall, when I was in the community center, and I specifically looked around to see if I could see signage that said, this is the men's room, this is the women's room, what height they were and were they tactile, and they were, and so you could go to the person who is in charge of the community center or the golf course, the same thing.
Exactly.
It's all, you can just kind of easily check those things off, because they are there. So, for example, like the bathroom at Brooks Park doesn't have that. They don't have the grab bars are pulled out of the wall. That was, I looked at that last fall, and so we could knock off quite a few of those easily.
See, but we're talking about signs,
Yeah, they're tactile signs that you have to have on the wall
Right.
at a certain.
not grab bars, though. I just want to
Well, Yeah.
So what do you think we should do first? Have someone try and find out if the department heads have meetings, because wouldn't the department heads know about their deficiencies 4 or
should,
5 years
yeah.
ago?
Mhm.
When you say deficiencies, you mean not ADA, they're not ADA in compliance, is that what you, okay.
We're talking about deficiencies in signage, though,
Yep,
Yeah.
not.
not
Not
grab,
grab
yeah,
bars,
yeah,
okay.
right.
Wait,
What are
in-
deficiencies in signage? That's what he's talking about here.
Mhm. The library is pretty visible. And the height and that stuff and the
Mhm.
tactile, that's pretty good over there. The new cultural center would, well, not the new, but being renovated.
So library, the culture center, the Harwich.
Community center, Cranberry Golf. Schools probably have
Do
those.
you think I should go through this first and see what the reported when they put it together?
This one, these?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Do you think we should do that?
It is kind of old, so there may have been signs that fell off.
You're absolutely right.
Because this is what,
All right,
2017?
this is what we need to do. I like Lynn's idea that they have department head meetings. Can you find out, Lynn?
Sure, if I'm gonna call and find out if we have a.
If you might as well, you're on a roll here, Lynn, so you find out if there's
Yeah.
department head meetings. And maybe somebody they must have a list of who the department heads are, and we can go from there.
You're talking about the department's head for the town here?
No, I mean the head of the building, like who's, like at the, I don't know, like
okay,
for recreation, even though it's at the community center, is there anything going on with the recreation department that they have deficiencies in signage?
Mhm.
Or at the elders, Council on Aging? But we need those lists before we can go anywhere,
Correct.
okay?
Here's some here that they talk about Brooks Park and that kind of stuff, but I think buildings are
Yeah,
your first aim.
right,
Get them knocked off easily.
okay.
And I can help you with that too, if you would like.
Well, I'm just gonna make a couple phone calls, and I think that'll take
And then
care
we'll
of it.
put it, we'll
But
put that,
thank you for the offer, if I get stuck, you'll hear from me.
so we will put that back on the agenda for June, okay?
And I'll make sure you have whatever information I've gotten before the meeting.
I would really appreciate that. So, the next steps are moving forward with policy and procedures, and we know what the next step is because we're changing a sentence in the very, very beginning, and we got into quite a discussion on the difference between disabilities and discrimination, which I thought was a wonderful discussion. Next month, we will continue on the draft that Eileen presented. One more thing, at town meeting, I don't know if everybody knew this, Article 16, this is under the funds that are allocated for us. We have $121,000. Here it is,
This committee, they're like,
our committee.
oh, that's so
ADA
sweet.
compliance requirements.
Was
Oh,
that
that's so
in the
sweet.
capital?
It was Article 16,
I was there. but I
capital
can't remember.
outlay plan items funded from free cash.
So the number sounded so much like a number I've heard before.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered if that's the money that was already there.
That Sean was talking about?
Yeah.
Perhaps, but I just really wanted to bring it up that everybody knew that, hey,
How much is it?
$121,000. And it's for facilities maintenance, which falls right in line with signage. I also wanted to say, going back a few months, I had looked into, if you remember, another thing that Sean had talked about was the height of the handicap signs in town. Remember that?
Yeah.
The handicap parking signs. And it just so happens my daughter has business in town, and I noticed today, walking in, there's a new handicap sign, and it was at a proper height, so I really felt good about that.
You scared them into it.
I guess we did. And as time goes by, this, you know, I know I am adamant that we stick to the agenda, but if something does come up that we've already talked about, either call me and you want to put it on the agenda. I'm looking at our meeting from January before you were here, Alexa, when we had, we talked about the Moby mats and what was going on at the
Yes.
beaches. Were you with us then?
I think for one of those
Yeah.
meetings, I was.
And that's just such a summer thing that it would be timely to maybe just revisit it. So I'm gonna put that on the agenda next month, just so we're on top of it.
I just recall that we were able to get people to go to the beach every day in the summertime, that they hired someone from the town.
Right. So I just want to stay on top of that because it's so timely. So I'll put that on the agenda for old business.
Does the HRC have a Facebook community? Not a Facebook community, but like a social media?
The Recreation Department?
No, for this committee, do we have like a Facebook?
Not that I know of.
Is that something that we could consider maybe?
Sure.
Okay. I can reach out to that.
You want us on Facebook, huh?
I do it for core, so
Okay.
I know how to navigate that in terms of outreach and get people more aware.
I don't know if you, I often walk Red River, but they have really kept the, those access routes to the beach. The hard surface, has been there.
Excellent. So that's exactly what we're talking about. Excellent. Just a little bit of a report, if we could all check in.
I'll go,
I don't think we need to, call the Recreation Department, but if we could just zoom by before the next meeting, just to have a beach report, we'll call it, under old business.
I don't know about the one on Bank Street, which is actually the closest, but the others, as I walk down and back, they're there and they were clean. And they go all
Yeah.
the way from the beach all the way to the parking
Excellent.
lot.
At Red River.
Yeah. I don't know about the other areas.
So
I don't even know where those beaches are.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty familiar with most of them, so
Are you? Oh,
I just want to keep that on the agenda so that
sure.
one or two or three of us are just taking a peek. Before I close, I was so excited to go to the community center and both the tabs to get the little, with the push button thingy to get in. Everything was working.
Oh, good.
I came here last week.
The
Everything was
outdoors.
working. I came today. One of them is working, one of them is not.
Oh, you're kidding.
So, I guess that's just a work in progress. I don't know what else we can do other than what we've
Well, I
done.
do remember that they said it tends to be quirky downstairs.
Mhm.
That sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but
Was there,
it still needs to be fixed.
is there
And-
a contact person?
Sean Libby,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
so
But he's probably already on it. though.
apparently there was a part, and I know he's overwhelmed, so I had a great conversation with him about this, so. Okay, so I will go through the lists and see what I can find, but in the meantime, Lynn will find out who the department heads are for buildings. And she's also going to look into if there's a civil rights committee in town. I suppose we should know that, but I don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
I didn't,
See?
civil rights for the town or
For the town.
for town of Harwich? I didn't see that on the site
I don't
here.
either.
And they do have a list of their committees and boards.
Good for you.
Um,
So if you don't,
we could see right now, so we're not,
no, I don't, yeah. It's all alphabetized. I
Yeah.
don't see it. So if there isn't a committee, maybe that would be all the reason to put it on our grievances. Okay, it's 2:20. I'd like
Motion to adjourn? is
a
that-
motion to adjourn. Thank you, Eileen. Would someone second? Alexa, would you like to
Everybody
second?
wants to stay.
Lynn is seconding.
Thank you.
We got through a lot, but we have a
Yeah.
long way to
It's
go.
it's a huge thing.
It's a very big thing.
does this committee have like a handbook?
One second.